Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Citadel with me, Daniel M. Today we have got another game from our Casual Thrones tournament. On the left hand side we've got Rebecca Gillard playing Baratheon Fealty. On the right hand side we've got Matt Hoppez playing Greyjoy Lords of the Crossing. So we've got quite a long game today, guys, and I'd just like to apologise ahead of time that this is about the third time I'm trying to commentate on the videos. I've had a number of issues with the editing of it, so if I start to lose my mind at any point during the recording, that's because I've been doing this for a little while trying to get it sorted. So this is an interesting matchup. The Greyjoy Crossing we've seen a lot of around the UK recently. It's made a good showing at a couple of regionals, getting into top 8, and it was also very, very prevalent at Blackwater Bay. This is a very similar build piloted by Matt, who, as I mentioned in previous videos, is a new player to Thrones, but a very experienced card gamer in general, originally from Magic quite a while ago. Joined our local meta originally playing Netrunner, and could not resist the lure of Thrones. And Rebecca is a regular in our meta. If you're from the UK, you've probably seen her at a lot of tournaments. Richard Walker's partner, who I'd just like to say congratulations, Richard, having just made the top 8 at his second regionals in Reading this past weekend. So well done, Richard. While the guys set up and Rebecca shows us her lovely opening hand there with a nice Robert and some reducers, some economy, kind of everything you want to see in a starting hand. I'd just like to remind everyone that at the beginning of October the 8th, is the UKTC, UK Team Championship. We'll be running it for Netrunner, Conquest, and most importantly Thrones on Saturday. You need a team of 3 players, each player playing a different house. And at the event we'll have a maximum of 32 teams. We'll play it out in Swiss and then have a cut at the end of it. It'll be a very long day of Thrones, but it should be a really interesting event. You get matched up in Swiss pairings with another team, and then your team captain decides. You toss for initiative, toss a coin, and whoever wins the toss gets to choose their first matchup, knowing your opponent's house card and agenda, and then the pass initiative to the other team. The other team decides the second matchup, and the third matchup is obviously based on whoever's left. So really interesting format. Get to choose your opponent, and allows for some different deck building constraints, because obviously if your deck has got a serious weakness to Greyjoy, or has got a serious weakness to Neil, you can obviously potentially choose not to do those matchups. So we've got our setup. Matt getting a very nice 5-card setup. Obviously very prone weak to First Snow Winter, but the Baratheon pay areas as well, with Silice, Crescent, and a Fiery Followers. Whereas Matt has got a Wildling Scout, a Transgod's Priest, a Fishmonger, the Raiding Longship, and a Rose Road. So I think the Greyjoy player, quite obviously having got a stronger start there, he's got a little Chad Reducer, economy plot, he's got some of his stealth activation in the Scout, lacking military icons at the minute, but then so is the Baratheon player. If he can get out some big characters in this first turn with a big plot, maybe a Balon or an Asher, he'll really be able to start pushing those crossing triggers. Opening up with Heads and Spikes. This is something we've seen quite a lot recently. Out of Greyjoy Crossing, gives the high initiative and potentially gives a boost on power in the first round. Matt choosing to go first because of the Raiding Longship. However, personally as a Greyjoy, I think on the first turn is when I prefer to go second, and after that, once I've started to get a bit more tech out and a few more cards out, that's not too bad. Rebecca mentioned just having a nice chuckle that the Heads on Spikes hit the King's Road, because everything else in her hand is a character or the red key. So everything else would have either given Matt 2 power or would have really hampered Rebecca's draw in this game. So that's really nice for her there. Got really lucky there, and it's going to really help her moving forwards in this game. Oh, and seeing Stannis early. So I really hope she uses the Fiery Followers and the Calm over Westeros to play Stannis, because that Stannis is going to really put the lock onto Greyjoy Crossing and really going to make them struggle. Only being able to stand 2 characters when you want to commit as many as possible to ensuring you get your crossings trigger really dampens their day and is really going to upset them. So let's see what marshalling we see from Matt. Paying 5 gold and using the Island's Fishmonger for Balon. Yeah, absolutely. That bad boy has hit the table and it's going to demand an answer very quickly.
For my first player, I can kneel it to choose defending.
So Rebecca unfortunately asking what the Raiding Lordship does, which you'd think, considering how much she plays against Richard, who is obviously quite infamously a very devout Greyjoy player, she would know, but unfortunately Greyjoy has so many locations that it's sometimes hard to keep track of which is which. So obviously just needing reminding there. Using that King's Road that was hiding there in the corner of the table. Using... Oh, getting Mel, so obviously choosing the spot control now rather than the Stannis. Personally, I like the idea of getting, I know Stannis early can hurt yourself because you limit your ability to stand your own characters. Maybe getting Mel out now means that the Fiery Followers is going to stand up so that you can more easily get Stannis out the next turn, which is very nice. And also gives you that answer to Balon very early. But getting unopposed challenges right now isn't going to be the worst thing in the world. And it does mean that she's potentially going to, because she's nailed up Balon, means she might not lose the power challenge, meaning she can trigger the Red Keep. And getting Shireen out, so one of the nicest chuds in the game, because she obviously is going to kneel a character, so when she does, you kneel something else out. Matt doesn't have a military icon now either, so he's not going to get his Lords of the Crossing trigger in his first turn. With only 2 small characters left standing, I think he's in a slightly precarious situation. Facing down Mel and having seen Rebecca's hand, a lot of nice cards in her hand. Matt's going to do an intrigue for 1 because of the Lords of the Crossing reduction on their strength. And Rebecca just debating whether she's going to defend. Obviously wants to protect her hand, just thinking that if she defends with Selyse, obviously the Raiding Longship can make it go unopposed. So she's either got to over-defend this challenge, or I think for me, I let it go unopposed because what you really care about is that power challenge. You don't want to lose that power challenge, not because obviously it really matters for power, but because you want to keep that Red Creep trigger. So she's going to defend with Mel and Selyse, obviously just choosing to protect the cards in her hand rather than protecting the cards she's going to potentially draw, which, having seen her hand with Stannis and everything else, is probably the right choice. And Matt doing a power challenge for 3. Rebecca just debating whether she wants to defend it at all with Crescent because obviously because of the Raiding Longship. It's the interesting thing about Greyjoy is while they may be a one-note faction at the minute, they really do force you to think about what you're going to do and what you care about defending. And Matt effectively putting a lot of pressure on with a weaker board state by pressuring Rebecca's hand going first and pressuring the Red Keep draw. Strength 3, so obviously with the power boost from the Red Keep, she can defend this. Because if she defends with Shireen and Crescent, he'll jump Crescent out and she'll only be defending with Shireen. That's plus the Red Keep with 3 strength, so Matt would win anyway. So she's going to return, letting get the power, and unfortunately the Red Keep should be out here. And she gets the unopposed and the power claim for the Shireen challenge, and then obviously gets dominance because she's left Crescent. So unfortunately trading the draw for 3 power, so that's not a bad shout for her. So moving into the next round, Baratheon player in a good position, but unfortunately Greyjoy hasn't fallen too far behind, just because they've obviously got good economy out in those 2 Rose Roads, and having got Balon out, if they can get a few more stealth pieces out, they'll be able to start rushing very soon. But getting 3 power ahead, nice and early, is never a bad thing against Greyjoy. you can keep them down low on power for long enough, you can hopefully close out the game by controlling them. You just have to be careful not to let them get too high too early, because otherwise it can be really hard to take control back of the game. So Matt making an interesting choice here, playing Wildfire, obviously saying that he's only got the 4 characters, but not really going to do any damage to the Baratheon player, because killing off Shireen's what they don't care about doing, because it allows her a free kneel of Balon straight away. So she's not even going to have to worry about playing a R'hllor card this turn, because she's got Balon knelt already. I think if she can get Stannis out with this noble cause, she can really make that pay out, because then Matt's only going to be able to kneel one other character if he wants all his characters standing, if he wants Balon to stand. So that could really start putting on the pressure on that Greyjoy player. Rebecca just debating what she's got in her hand and whether she really what she wants to do, and Matt taking some of his significant amount of money to play the Reader. So he's got his icon spread out. Unfortunately, still doesn't have a military icon because Balon keeps being knelt. So he's still not going to get his Lords of the Crossing trigger. This is one of the reasons why Barra is such a nice matchup against Greyjoy, because you can deny those key characters at the opportune moment. Now, obviously, having at one of our recent store tournaments and at the Reading Regional, we saw a Barra line do very well in both those tournaments. The line obviously allowing Barra to have a slightly better resilience against first snow, and also managing to tutor up those kneel events quite effectively using the the in-house event searching location when you win an injury challenge. I can't remember. And Rebecca choosing to put Barristan out. I'm not sure how she did that, because she only has 5 gold. Barristan isn't a lord or a lady. He is a knight, Kingsguard, and something else. He's a knight, Kingsguard, and companion, something else. He's not a lord, because the reason I know is because he can't save himself. When he stands, you stand him to save a lord or lady that would be killed. So Rebecca shouldn't have unfortunately been able to play Barristan there, so there's a mistake. And actually I think possibly hurts her anyway, because I think that Stannis would have been slightly more impactful right now. Matt's going to carry on being aggressive using the Reader. And Rebecca again debating how she's going to defend against that. Rebecca just going to defend against it, force him to use the boat. I think that's the right choice. Force him to use the boat on an intrigue challenge. Hopefully he doesn't pull Stannis. Oh, and he does. Oh, so pulling that Stannis there, Rebecca going to be slightly upset about that, because that's going to be a key piece about putting the lock on this crossing deck. So that's I think immediately evened out this matchup a bit, and put Rebecca in a better Matt in a much better position. And Matt oddly choosing the pillage, which actually turned out really nice for him, because he pillaged a Robert and a Milk, 2 cards which are going to be really impactful against that crossing deck. So despite choosing the pillage as a weird option, very odd choice there. Turns out that he milled cards that would have really hurt him there. So I was going back to what I was talking about, you forcing the use of the raiding longship. Because she forced the use of the raiding longship, means that Matt then didn't do a power challenge, because there was Rebecca just could defend it very easily without any threat, so she's going to get her draw.
I'll select Balon.
Oh, Matt doing something very dangerous. Rebecca having done a military challenge, it's going unopposed. Matt choosing Balon as claim. Obviously not playing against Lannister, so there's very little risk of treachery for say on Iron Mines, but still playing that Risen from the Sea could be quite dangerous because of Hands of Judgment. So it's always the debate whether you want to buff Balon up to make him strength 6, or whether you want to risk it being Hands of Judgment, or if you want to play it safe.
I'll oppose.
and doing the entry challenge, and it just being opposed by a wildling scout, getting another drown cog, which would have been nice for Matt. It would have buffed the strength up a bit more for here's another one, and Matt winning dominance because of his tiny little coin there, and Rebecca getting her draw. I wonder what she's drawn. We're going to be able to have a look at her hand. So lucky for you guys, because this has failed so many times. Last time I tried to record I was quite ill, so I was coughing and spluttering all over the place. Feeling a lot better now, so luckily hopefully won't be coughing down the microphone too many times. Rebecca getting her draw and just debating what she wants to discard, going to filter her hand. Just going to get rid of a Tobin Mott's Armory. I suppose with the red keep she's got the draw that she really needs. With the board that she's got at the minute, she's unlikely to lose power challenge if she really commits to not losing a power challenge. But that extra draw from the deck claiming dominance would have been quite nice. So moving into the next round of plots, I wouldn't be surprised to maybe see a summons from Rebecca, or it might be another high. Ooh, a Fealty accusations. Okay, so that makes sense to me. That Fealty is going to obviously allow her to kneel out Balon, and March to the Wall is going to. She needs to debate whether she's more reliant on Celise or Crescent. Getting rid of Crescent, which in the current meta of attachment issues and everything else, normally wouldn't be a great shout. Obviously he's a single monochrome compared to Celise's Bicon, which is going to allow her more defensive options. What we're now seeing is quite a small board on both sides of the table, which they both like. Greyjoy like a small board, obviously, so they can stealth past more things, and Barrow like a small board because it's easier to kneel everything out. And Matt getting out an Asher, which I think is maybe going to decide this game. Obviously, Asher is going to allow him to get some freestand if he can stealth past enough characters. And going to get a Housemaster. So we've actually now can see a Greyjoy board that has got more intrigue icons than military icons, which is an odd thing to say. That Much the Wall has allowed Matt to control initiative again. However, I don't know if he got enough impact out of it. Obviously, all he did was march the Wildling Scout, but that Scout does mean that he doesn't get the spot stealth that he would have gotten otherwise. Rebecca, yet again managing to control his board, using consolidation of power to kneel out Asher. I think that's quite a nice little call there. Really putting the screws to the Greyjoy player, stopping him from getting that early rush off, while also accumulating a significant amount of power herself. Really got control of this game right now. See as we move through to the challenges phase, what's going to happen? Obviously she's got Davosar, so that's given her a nice bit of stealth, so that she can defend some challenges without them being stealth past. However, unfortunately for Matt, all of his nice big characters aren't on the board to be able to get past her. Doing the intro challenge first, defending with Celise. Matt, I think possibly over-committing to that intrigue challenge. Is he going to remember the reader trigger? Having used the raiding longship, I think he's overcommitted to the intrigue. I think if he let it go opposed, maybe could have got through a power challenge, or at least forced Rebecca to kneel out a significant amount to get through that power challenge, to try and defend that power challenge, which would have been good for him. Because Rebecca's always going to prefer to defend the power challenge to the intrigue. But just by committing that Celise, she's obviously moved through to claim, and Matt asking if he could take the reader trigger because he forgot it, but Rebecca saying that trigger window has passed, which is absolutely within her rights to do. This is an odd thing to see from Matt. He doesn't often miss those sorts of triggers. Having come from Magic and Netrunner though, he's normally quite on the ball about not missing his triggers, but missed that one. And passing the rest of his challenge, because obviously he's used this raiding longship, so Rebecca can quite easily defend any power challenge. So she's going to do a military challenge, which is going to go unopposed. Going to get her claim. Going to Risen from the Sea, Asher. Again, being risky. I think Hand's Judgment has dropped out of the meta, so Risen from the Sea's value has risen. I think since the fading of Targ, since post First Snow, Hand's Judgment has really dropped off the board. And especially I think in say Baratheon and Martell decks, they're running things like Viper's Eyes and Seen in Flames a lot more than they're running Hand's Judgment these days, to serve a similar sort of purpose, a kind of proactive version of a Hand's Judgment. Doing an intrigue challenge, it being defended, just taking a shipwright out of his hand. And Rebecca again getting off her draw from the power challenge. Again, I think this... drawing 2 Iron Thrones. So discarding that Tovo Mott's Armory may have been a real mistake. That Tovo's Mott's Armory with those 2 Iron Thrones would have been very nice, getting a 3-card draw at the end of each turn when she won dominance and after the end of the challenge phase. Now, this may be the round where Rebecca maybe starts to lose a bit of steam on her kneel because she's missing that Stannis. If she'd had Stannis by this point, Matt would have been in a really difficult position, being able only to stand Balon Nasher and everything else being knelt out. Rebecca playing a summons to Matt's weapons at the door. Just this is what I noticed in one of when I was watching this video previously. Matt trying to say that the Risens from the Sea are attachments and that they would return to hand because of weapons at the door. Rebecca's saying that obviously they're events that are attached to a character, are not necessarily actually attachments, so they're not going to return to hand based on weapons at the door. So obviously Matt's going to choose to go first, and Rebecca is going to trigger her summons. Let's just hope that Rebecca is stuck to her guns and that those Risens are going to stay sat on those characters. I know that this mistake wasn't Matt's when he... oh dear, that is not a very nice summons. Lower locations and events and not very many characters. Obviously probably looking for a Stannis or a Robert. Sorry, as I was saying, the mistake about Weapons at the Door wasn't Matt's. He, when he net decked the deck he's currently playing, and I think the description in it said that the Risens Receives were attachments, and it got played that way in I think it was a store championship or something that played the deck in. So unfortunately he was misinformed, and I just hope they play this out correctly. If Risen for the Sea did gain the attachment trait, attachment card type, I suppose, they would be phenomenally strong with Weapons at the Door, getting to reuse your Risen from the Seas for continual saves, but fortunately that's not the case. So Matt just drawing his 2, and Rebecca unfortunately having to summon Slackchild. Hopefully she's drawn something a bit nicer from her mandatory draw. Matt collecting his income. Getting those 3 Rose Votes has really helped him. It's really meant that he can get a significant board presence and has really got the economy to support his deck moving forward. And as I said, if Rebecca can't start to see some more long-term meal in the form of Stannis, she may begin to be in trouble here, because he's starting to get to a critical mass of characters and also stealth. But it may start to cause us some issues. Matt getting a Drowned Men out. They're obviously going to be Strength 3, Strength 4 because of the Priest of Dangol, and Strength 5 because of the Raiding Longship. And Matt's seeing his Nightmares, so he's going to Nightmares Mel, so that's really nice of him. Going to prevent that Relore trigger means that Rebecca's not going to be able to kneel Balon or Asher through the use of Mal. Going to get a Bastard in hiding out, just so she's got some Chud to kill. Rebecca, unfortunately, not having seen much more economy, so struggling in the economy department as opposed to Matt. And Rebecca passing her marshalling and going to play the even-handed Justice. So, despite not getting that Mel trigger off, still managing to kneel Balon out, so to disable him for yet another round. So luckily though, because she's been getting those, Matt hasn't been putting pressure on the power challenges, he's obviously been putting pressure on the intrigue challenges, she's been able to get that draw out, which means that she's going to keep drawing into this, she's going to keep drawing into these cards that she needs to control his board. So unless he starts to put pressure on the power challenge, rather than the intrigue challenge, she's going to just keep drawing these cards and keep getting the answers that she needs. Matt going to do a challenge with Asha, stealthing Baratheon. She's going to stand up, getting the unopposed, and it's a military challenge, and she's going to have to kill a bastard in hiding. So tutoring Fat Shad actually helped her in the end, and he's got Asha standing up again. She could have defended that. Using say Davos and Mel, but she probably wants them standing for her own challenges. She's probably thought, I've got enough triggers off the red keep for now, I can probably leave it for now. And Matt, because he did the power challenge first, putting the pressure on the power challenge, has been able to save that Redding long ship for the intrigue challenge, which Rebecca has just defended with Celeste because she's gone, well, I'll force you to use it, so you can't use it on oh sorry, it's the military challenge he did originally. So I wonder if he's going to be able to put the pressure on the power challenge now. Rebecca probably saving Mel and Davos for that. Sorry, that was my fault. So we've got this last challenge here. Matt debating how we can push through that power challenge now that he's now tapped the Raiding Longship, because if he can win it, he can obviously get his Lords of the Crossing power as well. So I really want to get through this power challenge, but obviously doesn't want to leave himself too vulnerable to Rebecca's challenges in return, because she's sat there on a significant amount of power now. Sat there on 9 power to Adam's currently 4. Doing the power challenge with the drowned men and Asher for 11, and stealthing Baratheon. So Rebecca unfortunately not going to be able to win this, even if she used Davos and Mel, because that will only give her 9. So as I said, Matt, obviously that economy has meant that he's got enough characters out that he's now really starting to take advantage of his Lords of the Crossing agenda. Really helping him out there. Oh, here she will oppose with Davos. But obviously Matt wins, and playing a proper rush card, applying that superior claim to get 2 extra power, putting him here on 5/6, and he's going to get his claim, and is he going to get his Lords of the Crossing trigger? And he passes, so he forgets the Lords of the Crossing trigger, unfortunately. So he sat on 7 power. If you remember the Lords of the Crossing, he would have been on 8, would have really pulled him to level with the Baratheon player, if you can get over. But unfortunately he has now realised after Rebecca's declared her original challenge. So again, I think even in casual games you should tell your opponent so that it's their hard luck, it's the only way you'll learn. If you always allow those miss triggers, unfortunately you become reliant on people allowing you to miss triggers. Military getting unopposed, doing a power challenge, opposing it but winning anyway, and Matt getting dominance with a single gold. And luckily they played the weapons at the door correctly, so those Ruins of Seas have stayed on those characters. That was quite lucky. Rebecca absolutely certain of what plot she wants to play next, just double checking her hand to make sure she is though. Maybe changing her mind. Matt decided on his. As I said, this is the Baratheon player. The Greyjoy player is now on 7 power, and right at that point where you really need to start being careful that they don't rush you to the finish line. Baratheon player in good position, having 11 power themselves. I think if they can start to push themselves. Map throwing a Rise of the Kraken, so really going to try and turn the screws this turn, see if he can steal enough power to stop the Baratheon player closing out the game. He's got to be careful that he doesn't get to say 14 power and then allow the Baratheon player a whole bunch of unopposed challenges, because that could really hurt him. If he can ensure that Balon stays standing, if Rebecca misses say a lore character this turn, he may have just turned the game. Getting a Salty Navigator out. Oh, I'm getting a Nightmare, so he's going to prevent that Neil from Mel, so that's really going to hurt the Baratheon player and exactly what he needed on this Rise of the Kraken turn. Those two Nightmares there have just, I think, turned the tide of this game. Rebecca finally coming across some economy, but unfortunately a little bit late, so I'm not sure if it's going to do much for her at this point of the game. We'll just have to see how she deals with this Rise of the Kraken turn. Does she have another even-handed Justice? Does she have, say, an Indian Name is Your King to stop a Balon challenge that way? Using her Fealty to play out Robert. So she's got another nice big character alongside Baratheon to oppose Balon's strength. He's at strength 6. Potentially strength 8, unfortunately, because of that scouting vessel that Matt's got out. So while Robert might be able to oppose it if there's enough kneeling characters, Baratheon is not going to be able to defend because he's a 7 for 6. So Rebecca reliant on Bob to defend the challenge. If Matt waits and uses Balon in the 3rd challenge, though, it'll be up to see how much Rebecca has knelt out to see if Rob's going to be strong enough to oppose a strength 10 Balon. Obviously because of the Lords of the Cross trigger. Matt just debating challenge map here. Getting that Rob out has really made this challenge map a little bit more difficult for Rebecca. Pushing that intrigue challenge for 3. Just daring Rebecca to oppose it. I personally, getting the Rise of the Kraken trigger off this intrigue challenge could be good for him if he does use that raiding longship. If Rebecca doesn't defend it by enough, I think she has to at least defend it with one character to force him to use it, so that she can better defend a military and power challenge from him. Because while losing 2 cards out your hand is going to hurt, she can lose 2 characters using the Mel dupe and losing the Bastard in Hiding, but a 2 power claim challenge, she really needs to win that on defense. So even if she kneels out Celise and he uses raiding longship, so he gets it unopposed, she's got another two kneeling characters then to buff up Robert for that final challenge when you need to use him to defend against Balon. Rebecca doing the right thing there, defending with Celise. Obviously he's going to get the unopposed, but she's sacrificed the injury challenge to allow herself to better defend the military and the power, which is absolutely what you need to do against the Rise of the Kraken turn. 4 cards there, getting the Iron Throne, and hitting the Stannis again. That really hurting. Obviously mastering the King Bob right now is the best thing to do. It's going to give you the big character to defend against the Balon potentially, but getting Stannis out earlier would have, even last turn, would have really helped her. Unfortunately probably just drew up into that. That's going to be a challenge for 6 with Balon, not saving for the last challenge. Going to buff Balon up to 8. Rob is still going to be able to defend that. 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh no, only strength 9. So Rob is going to win that challenge. And she's getting renown on both those characters for winning that challenge. If Matt had saved Balon for the next challenge, the Lords of the Crossing challenge, there would have been nothing Rebecca could have done to defend against it. I think Matt just realised that he'd made the mistake there, because by defending with both, despite knowing that Baratheon may not be effectively in the challenge, she allowed Balon to get King Robert to get up to enough strength to be able to defend and win by himself. So very nicely defending there with Baratheon. It's initially looks like an overcommittal on defence. She probably could have got the same effect by using Davos or the Bastard in hiding, but it allowed her to get that double renown, because she might not have been able to get the win on the opposing challenge. So unfortunately Matt's power pile is a disgusting mess, as opposed to Rebecca's sitting quite nice and tidy. Could have been nicer, but very nice and tidy on her side of the wall. So I'm struggling to see how much power he's on. It looks like he's on 8-9 power, but I may be wrong there. Doing a power challenge for 12 stealthing Mel. So Rebecca going to lose this power challenge here. Unfortunately not going to get her red keep trigger. So using Robert and Barristan to defend Balon is the right call, because you doesn't want to lose that challenge, but losing that 2 power is going to hurt her here. Greyjoy there on a good amount of power. Rebecca going to do a power challenge. Stealthing the Drowned God's Priest, so she's going to get it unopposed and going to get claim back off him. So Rebecca's sitting there on 13 power. Sitting there with Mel, debating doing an intrigue challenge, trying to figure out if she'd win Dom, but obviously because there's the 2 gold left, she wouldn't. Didn't do an intrigue. Take a little house maester out of Matt's hands. He's going to get dominance. So, nearing the end of the game, both players probably able to close out on this next challenges phase. It'll just see what they're playing. Oh, Rebecca playing Wildfire. Going to clean out that board. Going to prevent Matt from using all those little characters to be able to push through some of his smaller challenges. And Matt playing Calling the Banners.
Less power than you, I believe.
Matt on less power, so he's going to choose to go first. Because obviously he got the initiative boost from the Salty Navigator. So he's going to choose to trigger his part first, because he's his first player, meaning he's going to get that extra gold before that Wildfire triggers. So that's quite nice for him there. Rebecca choosing Davos, obviously, because he's just going to come straight back to hand. She can play him out again this turn. Going to reduce the size of her board, so that is going to mean that Robert struggles to get up to enough strength to defend against Balon if he's used in the 3rd challenge. But clearing out some of the chud on Matt's board, you can use to do jump challenges to get through to that 3rd challenge. So some win and lose there. Just by going first in this round, I think Matt may have really benefited himself. We will see what Rebecca is able to marshal this turn. As Greyjoy being able to get 7 power on a getting 3 extra gold, on a Calling the Banners turn is so nice. So he's 5 gold still set there. Got another Drowned God's Priest, so that he's got a few more icons out there to be able to use, offensively and defensively. And Rebecca's sat there, unfortunately, on a measly 4 gold with her Fealty and then her Dragonstone Port. So going to see if she's got any characters in hand that she can marshal. Going to play Consolidation of Power, nice. And what is she going to kneel? Debating kneeling the Drowned God. She could obviously kneel the reader. Asher is now on strength 5, so not going to be able to kneel Asher. I think that's probably one of the reasons why Matt risen from the sea her again rather than Balon, to push her out of that consolidation range. So she's going to kneel the drowned priest and kneel the little chud, and hopefully she's going to milk Balon. While he may not have stealth like Asher, that strength is going to be really hard to oppose otherwise. Obviously you don't want to let the Asher stand back up and do all her little shenanigans, but I think Balon is definitely the bigger threat here, forcing through unopposed that way. Yeah, choosing to milk Balon. I think she's going to have to play very defensively this turn. Hopefully her next plot is something that's going to let her win initiative. I think she played Wildfire hoping to win initiative this turn, so that she could play Davos, maybe get some unopposed by stealthing Balon, forcing through a challenge with Robert and Sir Barristan. So unfortunately by going second here she's going to have to play quite defensively just to stop Matt from winning. Moving into the challenges phase, Rebecca's got no gold left. So Matt just trying to math it out, see how he can win. If I'm calculating this right, he obviously has 2, 5, 7, 10 power. I think he maybe has 10 or 11 power. So to Rebecca's 13. Just figuring out if you can try and win this turn, I think. If Rebecca can defend something with both Robert and Barristan, she might be able to win. Going to do the intrigue with the reader. Rebecca probably going to defend that with Mel. Debating whether she can force him to use the raiding longship for this challenge, or whether she wants to save Mel for trying to attack back. She could let this go. I think she needs to try and defend it with Mel though. Try and get him to use that raiding longship. I think she really wants him to use it here so that she can defend the power and military challenges with Barristan and King Bob to try and get some of that renown potentially. Matt here debating, obviously using that raiding longship. He's going to win the intrigue. He's going to lose the intrigue challenge because of the Lords of the Crossing strength reduction. It's just whether he's willing to sacrifice that loss. Yep, sacrifice the intrigue challenge. Nicely done by him. I think you need to leave that raiding longship here for the power challenge to try and push it through. Because what you don't want to happen is you don't want Barristan and Robert defending a power challenge and potentially getting renown. Stealthing Robert, military challenge for 5. If she defends with Barristan, Matt uses the raiding longship. Defends with Davos and Barristan. He raiding longships out Barristan, putting her in a difficult position here. She doesn't want Asher standing back up, so you maybe almost have to over defend. Neil Barristan and Davos here. He obviously wins the military challenge. Davos returns back to hand, or Mel's dupe. I think Mel's dupe's the right call here. Leave that extra kneeling character to increase Robert's strength. Because what you don't want to happen is you don't want Asher standing back up and then Matt doing a power challenge with Asher and Balon, because that's something you can't defend against. Let's see what Rebecca decides to do. if she does defend using Barristan and Davos, that's going to make Robert's strength 5, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Robert's strength 12 is going to mean strength 13 when Balon attacks, and Balon with milk on him isn't going to be a threat there because he's only going to be 6, 7, 8, 10 with the Iron Fleet Scout. So we're going to be able to win that challenge just with Robert there. Rebecca just trying to view the situation here, see what her answers are. As I say, this is the dilemma of Greyjoy, is having to play more defensively than you necessarily might want to, just because they've got this threat of activation on the table. Absolutely, defending with both Barristan and Davos. This means that Matt has to use the raiding longship here on Barristan, because if he allows him to get the renown, Rebecca's going to win with a challenge by King Rob. Ooh, letting him win the challenge. I suppose that means that he's going to be able to do a challenge with Balon, power challenge with Balon, use the raiding longship to jump Robert out of it. Which I don't know if that's going to give him enough power to win the game, with Balon not having renown. He's going to have 2 claim. I think he needs 3 to win the game. He's obviously debating maybe he only needs 2, doing that power challenge for 8. Rebecca, unfortunately, not going to be able to do anything about it. Oh! Unfortunately, Matt trying to claim an unopposed power there by using the raiding longship to mean that.
One claim. And Lord of the Crossing, yeah.
So Matt there playing it out, saying that he got unopposed 1 claim and Lord of the Crossing trigger. Unfortunately, the Red Keep contributes strength, so I don't think that challenge should have been unopposed. No, because King Robert's strength wasn't contributing strength to challenge, so therefore the Red Keep doesn't contribute. The Red Keep only helps you against Balon when his ability would trigger, meaning that you can defend with a Chud and still have strength in the challenge, because that Chud is enabling the Red Keep to add strength to you on in the challenge. So guys, that's another game done. Casual game. Next couple of games we're going to be getting up are from our most recent store tournament at the beginning of July. After that, I've got a few games from the Reading Regional. I've only got games from the Swiss. If you want to see games from the Cuts, you should go over and see the Southern Bannermen, who I know did some recording of games in the Cut as well. So that'll go find their videos. Really good guys, having met them at the Reading Regional. So I'm hopefully going to get a few more videos up recently, because obviously I've got a lot of games from within before across the 7 Kingdoms, and I want to try and get them out as quickly as possible, so that the videos I'm posting aren't kind of a bit old and stagnant. So I'll hopefully try and get a few extras over the next couple of weeks, but we'll see how my schedule goes. So thank you for joining us again, guys. Please comment below if you saw any different plays from the videos underneath, and keep it friendly, and I'll see you next Tuesday. Bye.